How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about My Valentine. This is from February 2020, and this is Season 2, Episode 5 of Into the Dark. Into the Dark was Blumhouse TV's attempt to put a new movie onto Hulu every single month, and they would usually be horror movies tied to a major holiday if there was one, so February is going to be a Valentine's Day horror movie. I don't know if they actually say it's set on Valentine's Day. It is a story about love, and the main character's name is actually Valentine, with a possessive ex-boyfriend, hence My Valentine, the title. So, yeah, it's a Valentine's Day story. Anyway, this is directed, and I think also written by Maggie Levin, and stars Britt Baron, Anne Lore, Benedict Samuel, Ali Maki, and Schin Bhatt. Sorry if I mispronounced any of those names. I wrote that a little bit too small. But anyway, with the Into the Dark series, Hulu cranking out a new movie every single month, there definitely is ups and downs in this series, and some episodes come out a lot better than others, and quite a few of them do fall flat. But that being said, they're usually entertaining enough. But I went into this one, and I happened to see before I watched it that this had a pretty low IMDb score, so I went in a little worried, but overall, having seen it, it actually did turn out to be a pretty pleasant surprise. I don't want to say it's perfect or anything, but I would probably disagree with that IMDb score. It is probably in the upper half of the series. I don't know if it'll crack into the top third, but it is definitely in the upper half, and it did have a lot of things going for it. But that being said, with the IMDb score, if people hate this movie, I totally see why. It is one of those movies that it does a good job with a good, interesting core concept, and a lot of the moments really do work, and it kept me entertained, and it moved relatively fast. But it's like, for as good as it generally was, there'd be random little things that would upset me. Little things like, oh, did we have to do that? Talking both to the movie itself and to the characters. And of course, this movie also has a little bit of over-the-top after effects, where something will happen and maybe they'll draw on devil horns on this one guy on top of the movie. And it's little quirky things like that that can be a little bit too much for some people. But overall, I did like this one a lot more than a lot of the other ones. A good concept, it moves fast, and with some interesting characters and moments. And I guess in order to talk about that, let's talk a bit about the plot. Now, I won't be doing any major spoilers. I'll primarily be going through the setup and pausing to do a bit of analysis whenever I see an interesting point. So don't worry, I won't spoil the end, but let's take a moment and give this movie a deeper analysis by looking at a little bit of the plot. We open up with a woman tearing up copies of her own poster. But who is she? We're treated to an opening montage where we see the story of this woman. She became a super successful #1 pop star. Her boyfriend was also her producer, and things turned sour in that relationship. He became very possessive and abusive, so she decided to get away, and she started performing on her own as herself and not in this persona anymore. However, this has led people to call her a copycat of her alter ego. Even though she's saying, no, that is me, people won't believe her, and she's getting online flack and her story is not being told. Well, she's out there playing in this bar. It's like her first performance in a while or something like that, and we get this group of hecklers who I'm just going to say are one of the bigger problems with this movie. they're hecklers that think she's just an imposter, and they're gonna show up at this show to yell at her, and the bar doesn't kick them out for whatever reason. They're just super annoying. They're terrible characters, and I get the point. You know, the idea that people on the internet are going to start harshly judging someone without knowing the whole situation, and they're literally attacking the person they claim to love. And I get the point, and there are real people like this. That being said, these characters are super annoying, and they're in the movie a little longer than they should be. Luckily, they're cut out of most of the middle, but oh man, these bad choice. Rework these characters, no. And no offense to the actors, you know, they do what they're told to do, but the idea is just not good. But anyway, the producer, of course, is going to show up to this performance, and he is going to bribe the bartender to shut the bar down for a private event, get everyone out of there but the singer and her other bandmate. And he bribes him with $1,000 and shows him who he is. And really, the bartender does do it for $1,000, but when you find out that this guy is a big-time music producer, like, that guy's loaded and you're risking your job, $1,000 is nothing to him. I bet you could have squeezed $20,000 out of this guy. I mean, for real, just say, if you are who you say you are, that would be nothing to you. But anyway, he does it for just $1,000. The bad guy producer character also steals the phone so the movie could happen, and he also takes a little table and wedges it under one of the door handles so that you can't get out the back door. So he does this setup. The girl, of course, sees that he's there, and she starts to freak out. And when they're in the bar alone, he explains what he wants. Stop telling people the truth. Don't play music again. I own this character. And there we get to see a bit of the past. You know, we get to see when their relationship was better, when they were happy, and we can see how and why it faded and how she put up with it for too long and just how evil this character is. But I feel that, you know, it was cheaper to do it mostly in the present and just shoot a few flashbacks. It's actually almost kind of a bottle episode because it really does primarily take place in this one bar. But that being said, if you wanted to write a lot harder and put in more money, if you flip the ratio, because it's mainly in the present with a little bit in the past, if instead the bar scene was a framing mechanism and it was mostly the story of this couple going downhill, that would probably be a way better movie. You know, just use the present to hint at how bad things would be. But that's just a theoretical structure change. Let's not talk too much about that. Needless to say, the flashbacks are relatively interesting, and we get to see her going into this persona. You know, she's Treasure, the #1 pop artist, which, by the way, her pop artist name is Treasure with, like, Z's and stuff, but her real name is Valentine Fox? Why would you need a stage name if your real name is something like that, something way too cool? Well, obviously, so the movie can happen, because we have to have it where people don't believe it's her, but still, yeah, why would you need that? Anyway, they get in this argument. She has a best friend who's a really cool character and should have been in the movie more, who says, no, we're not gonna back down, and she really goes to bat for her friend. And they're arguing when guess who walks in? A new version of her. You see, since most of her pop culture identity was in this built-up persona, you can just put the blue wig and sunglasses on any other girl with decent talent and similar appearance, and you can just make another version of Treasure. So he's literally handed the mantle down to someone else, and he's like, you need to stop, because I've already replaced you. Treasure never left me. She's right here. And overall, that is a really interesting concept, and I really do like how, the producer and Treasure kind of have this Joker-Harley dynamic, especially later on when the writers really started to question their relationship. But will she be okay with the upcoming violence? How much does she really know about her role in this production? And, is she really a good new Treasure? And if she's not, how will she take that? What will she really think when she knows that she's the backup, And you really start to wonder about this girl, about how much control the evil producer has over her. The new Treasure is an interesting character that really could have been a throwaway ditzy joke character, so I did like her. And of course, like I hinted at earlier, this will eventually descend into violence and have some pretty fun sequences and some fun ideas. The villain himself is pretty good at being over the top, and yeah, maybe he goes a little too far and does get, it does have a few scenes that don't quite work, but in general, the villain does really work. He's a good over-the-top villain that, like, he'll kill someone and then get obsessed with, like, what sound they make as they die, and think that that's really interesting because he's, into music. But they also do where he's wrote as a really good bad guy in the sense of being a evil, possessive boyfriend, where you see in the flashback sequences and in the present sequences towards other people that he'll find ways to twist the situation around and blame it on the person. Even if it's someone who he's actively trying to kill, he'll be like, look what you made me do. I don't want to kill you, but now I have to. That classic manipulative statement, look what you made me do, which Stephen King also used for Annie Wilkes in Misery. If anyone says this, 99% of the time, it's an excuse. Don't listen to it. But yeah, he's really good as a possessive character, and also giving this trait to a music producer. The things that I hear about Hollywood, the character in this movie is probably toned down from what a real bigwig at a studio is like. So a pretty interesting villain. And also we should talk about the edit. The edit, like, a lot of it's pretty good. They do a bunch of split screen and multi-screen and moving, like, something will happen and then a screen will slide in of something else and they'll compare the information between the two. And I really do like that, Brian De Palma-esque attitude there, and an interesting way to cut the scene around. And there's usually, a ton of interesting cuts. But that being said, there is a fight scene in a kitchen, which gets a little too jump cutty, but that being said, probably the editor just dealing with what he was given. Fight scenes need a really good story behind them, and you have to be able to film it and shoot it right. But anyway, the other than the fight scene being too jump cutty, this movie is edited really well. But the thing with the edit, and again, not the editor's decision, but going in and drawing all over the movie, it's not constant, but it is enough where if you're not feeling it, it can get kind of annoying. Like I said, they'll draw like a crown on somebody, or devil horns, or they'll draw a bunch of stars in the background, like a character will be happy and they'll start dancing, and then, ooh, there's stars everywhere. And the thing is, it worked in Scott Pilgrim, adding in all those stuff in post, but for working the one time in Scott Pilgrim, I have seen this not work in so many other movies. And here it's not the worst thing ever, and I get the going for that fun pop aesthetic, and I didn't find it super grating, but yeah, I don't think it 100% worked, and I honestly think that most of the reason why this has such a low IMDb rating is just because of drawing on the movie. And again, it's not constant, but it's just enough where if this is going to be a thing that annoys you, it is here. But also, it is a really fast-moving movie as well. I did like that. It didn't get super boring. We're going through, we're having a bunch of fun. And the movie itself is only, I believe, about an hour and 19 minutes. Not super long. But also, it's really even a little shorter than that. Because after the movie's over, they do a full song. And this is like a song before the song that's over the end credits. So there's like a whole music video tacked on to the end of this. So really, it's a little over 70 minutes long probably if you were to cut all that out. So a relatively short, fast-moving movie, an interesting edit, but it's just every now and then, like with the cartoon and like with these annoying fan characters, every now and then it's for the most part good, but then you'll be like, oh, come on, movie, why did you do that? Or, oh, come on, character, why did you do that? For example, there's these two characters, the band that came on before our main characters, and they're fighting, and they're thinking about breaking up, and they're good, interesting characters, but the movie doesn't use them super often. It's like, you almost forget they're in the movie, and then you'll check in with them every 15 minutes or so, and they ultimately don't amount to too terribly much. And it's like, these are good characters. Why didn't we do more with them? I like these characters. So, it's a good movie with some frustrating moments, and I know things like drawing on the screen are going to instantly turn off some people, and this is a little pop heavy, it is a little perky, and I know that that's not going to be for everybody, but it does contrast beautifully with when the character is pushed to her edge, and when we see how bad things are, and to see that against a pop setting, I thought was interesting. So overall, I did like this movie. I think that some people are absolutely going to hate it, and I do think it has some pretty big flaws, but that being said, I did think it was better than Down, the elevator one that we got from the first season, which was just standard. This one, it was doing something different, and it was having fun with it. Now, that being said, there is actually one more Into the Dark Valentine's Day episode. You see, towards the end of the second season, Into the Dark went on hiatus for a few months, so rather than getting a perfect 1-to-1 for all the months, there are 2 months that only got one episode, and then 2 months, February and March, that got thirds. So there is one more Valentine's Day episode. I believe it's called Tentacles. A love story called Tentacles. I wonder where that's going. But I'll be checking that out soon. There is a ton of these Valentine's Day movies and Into the Dark, and I'm trying to get through all of them before the holiday gets here. But overall, this one was definitely a step up, and I did appreciate it, even though it's not perfect and will definitely rub some people the wrong way. I thought it was fine. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my Into the Dark playlist, and in that playlist you should be able to find the first 5 episodes of each season reviewed, and hopefully I'll get to more really soon. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Into the Dark playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.